Hi, Madeline.
Hello.
Thanks for being an awesome employee.
No problem.
You've been with me a long time.
Yes.
Through most of high school and now most of college. Let's paint a picture of what it's like in the store when you walk in, 2,000 square feet, just wall-to-wall jars of spices and salts and all this stuff. I mean, an amazing number of items in the store. I mean, like curry powders.
The smell hits you first because you're kind of blown away by okay, North African, or am I doing pizza?
Right. So you can go really any direction with cooking, which is pretty fun. But with all of that, with all of those options in the store, what's the number one question we get in the store?
How to make chicken.
What do we do to make boneless, skinless chicken breasts taste better? So this is our first podcast episode, and I thought, let's answer it.
Definitely.
What we're going to do is talk to who I think is perfect for answering the question is Galen Iverstine, a local butcher here in town.
Yes, that's awesome.
And then will you meet me back in the kitchen after the interview and we'll do some cooking? We'll cook up some chicken?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, and little sneak peek, we are not cooking boneless, skinless chicken breast.
Fine by me.
I'm Ann Milneck, chef and owner of Red Stick Spice Company, and this is Smidgen, the podcast of Red Stick Spice.
You're listening to Smidgen, the Red Stick Spice Company podcast located directly between a dash and a pinch, where it's all about the tips, tricks, and tools to make home cooking easy and doable. We did our research and it's proven. Mealtime's where it's at. And now your host, Ann Milneck.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. We are recording in the Red Stick Spice Company Test Kitchen, one of my favorite places in the world. And given our intro, you realize that we are today talking about chicken. And my guest is absolutely perfectly suited for the subject. I'm joined by Galen Iverstine with Iverstine Farms Butcher. Welcome, Galen.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is fun. I'm so excited that you were here. When I was thinking about this episode and planning this episode, I considered naming it Tastes Like Chicken, the old joke. Mm-hmm. But really, there are a couple of episodes. This is one that's included in that group that I want to give the theme of knock it off, like things I wish cooks would stop doing, like store-bought chicken stock.
Right.
Let's all realize we can all make a chicken stock or a vegetable stock. And another thing I'd like people to knock it off is boneless, skinless chicken breasts.
Amen.
So we're going to be talking a lot about that. But before we get into that, I want to talk about Iverstines, and I want you to take us back to the beginning, take us to the farm, and tell us how you got from there to being Baton Rouge's premier butcher.
Sure, yeah. I'll do the Cliff Notes version because it's pretty long. But basically, I started out as a senior in political science, struggling with the same question that every liberal arts major has, and that's what do I do now? And from there, kind of went down rabbit holes of what was I going to do after school. And in one of the classes I was in, we were studying a lot about food policy, how food policy is written, particularly the Farm Bill and things like that. And while I should have been writing papers, I was going down YouTube rabbit holes of alternative methods of farming. What are some alternative methods of how food gets to the table? And
can I ask if it's okay? What time frame are we? What year
this is
was that?
2008.
Okay.
2008, 2009.
Okay. So we are in that mode in the food world. We are really Mark Bittman and all those folks.
Michael Pollan just wrote Omnivore's Dilemma. Animal Vegetable Miracle just came out. So there's a lot of traction nationally. Not really in Baton Rouge so much, but nationally everybody's catching on to the farm to fork movement. And it's really gaining traction, and I decided I was going to go into farming. I don't have a background in farming. My family is 2 generations removed from the farm, and I went and worked on someone else's farm in New Hampshire and convinced my dad he needed to buy 65 acres up in Kentwood to farm with me.
Oh my goodness!
So,
all this time, I thought you grew up
on
a farm,
first generation farm.
Wow!
So I went and worked on someone else's farm first. Came back to Baton Rouge, to Kentwood. We bought land in Kentwood. We needed to be a rural area for land to be affordable. I studied a lot of a farmer named Joel Salatin, who's up in Swope, Virginia, who is kind of the godfather of pasture-based livestock. And I knew the benefit of being a first-generation farmer is I had a clean slate. I could do things how I wanted. I didn't have the previous generation telling me this is how the farm needs to be run.
Right.
On the downside of that, you're starting a farm. Capital's hard to find, that whole bit. So we started very small. We started with chickens and hogs, and the basis of our farm is pasture-based livestock using strategic animal impact to improve the quality of our topsoils.
Okay.
That's the center point of what we do, and from that we're producing really tasty food.
Okay. So help us out with some terminology. Cage-free, grass-fed, and then the term you just used is?
Pasture-based.
Okay.
So big ag has caught on to what's going on with people's preferences for food and have watered down or bastardized what cage-free means and what organic means and what free-range means.
Okay.
So you could buy a carton of eggs that says it's a cage-free hen, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not in a house with 30,000 other chickens.
Okay.
So really what we're getting at, our chickens are raised on pasture, moved to fresh pasture every day to where they're able to get a good variety to their diet. We're using what the industry sees as a downside of the chicken industry, manure, as a positive. So we're having those chickens spread organic fertilizer on our pastures, which produces healthier grasses, more lush pastures, and then we come behind those chickens and graze with our cattle.
Okay.
So that's kind of everything on our farm basically has a role in improving the topsoil of our farm.
Okay.
So we started real small, couple hundred chickens, couple pigs, and hit a couple of restaurants here in town, and Jubin's was my first customer.
Yeah.
And then we started going to the farmers market in 2011. So 2011 was our first year at the farmers market, and basically doubled every year. Pardon the pun, but we grew organically. We allowed the market to dictate how we were going to grow our farm. So we started out with 65 acres. Every year we grew, and then about 2013, 14, we had the idea of what if we had a retail shop,
right?
And grow on those farmers market customers, take that and have a 7-day-a-week retail butcher shop, kind of an old school butcher shop that really Baton Rouge didn't have at the time, and we saw an opportunity to grow there, and it's really allowed our farm to grow a lot.
Yeah.
So now we're about 130 acres on the farm, and finishing out 7,000 chickens a year, 500 turkeys, 150 head of cattle. So we've grown incrementally, and we're kind of at a point now where what's next. So we're kind of maximizing our farm production and then seeing what's next from
right.
So
it's funny to hear this story because for years I was a little too late trying to get a turkey from you at Thanksgiving. Right. And you were out, and that was it. I couldn't get a turkey. And so while what was happening for you is that you were growing, and you were expanding over those years, but what you were doing was this social media term, FOMO. You were creating this fear of missing out where by the next year I was like, I'm getting a turkey.
Yeah.
Like, this is happening.
We have people calling us in July. It's like, are you taking
July.
orders yet? Are you make sure I don't miss my turkey?
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah, I mean, a part of that was just making sure we're not sitting on a bunch of inventory.
Right.
When it's your first year into a market or your second year, you'd hate to be sitting on 300 turkeys come January because nobody eats turkey in January.
Right.
So we just wanted to make sure we were being smart about it.
We
should eat turkey year round.
all year long.
So, but yeah, that's kind of the genesis of how we got to the butcher shop now, and we opened there in October of 2016. So we're coming up on 2 years there.
Well, and I had the pleasure of having a tour of the entire butcher shop, and it's fascinating. I love what you guys are doing there. So kind of take us through a little walkthrough of the shop, if you would, so people can understand what you're able to accomplish. And I'm going to say a fairly compact little site.
15 or 1,600 square feet. That's our footprint
right.
at the shop. So the retail portion of the shop is very intimate, not very big at all, but you walk in, we have a 12-foot fresh meat case, where on the bottom shelf you're going to have our three main proteins, which is our chicken, our pasture-based Berkshire hogs, and then 100% grass-fed beef cattle. Mm-hmm. So that's there, as well as a huge variety of smoked sausages, fresh sausages, your staple kind of Cajun meats like tassos, boudins, things like that.
And andouille.
All sorts of smoked items.
Yeah.
And we also have a freezer, which is kind of a convenience freezer, little 1 pound packs of ground meat, pound packs of breakfast sausage, things like that you just need to have in your freezer for when you're in a pinch, you don't know what to make for dinner.
Right.
It's right there in your freezer, thaws real quick.
And I'm hesitant to mention this because I want it all for myself, but your chorizo is some of the best chorizo I've ever had.
Yeah, so I mean, and everything in our shop has just been, we weren't butchers before. We've been kind of an R&D cut room.
Oh, I love that.
So we're constantly, all right, yeah, we like this, but how do we make it better? So that's always on our mind. How do we improve the products that we're already making?
Right.
Because we didn't come from a background of sausage making. You know, the first time I made sausage was 2 weeks before we opened the shop. So, and we've made a lot since then. So from the retail shop, or part of the shop, we have a big 4x5 glass window that looks right into the cut room.
Yeah.
That was really important for us to make sure people see a whole animal being butchered. Make sure they know we're not, when you say you want a lot of one cut, we're not going back there and opening a box and pulling out exactly what you need.
Right.
We are taking down a 250-pound quarter of beef and cutting that particular cutout for you.
Right.
So we want to make sure people kind of are making that connection of we're using whole animals, and people really enjoy seeing that and seeing the work going on in there. And that's a refrigerated room, so it's not time sensitive when we're working on a product. That was another thing we decided to do. It's 42 degrees in there, so when you see the guys back there with purple lips, that's why.
Right.
And then from there, you go into a hanging cooler, where all of our sides of beef and pork are hanging. We have a chicken station where we have a table dedicated to breaking down chickens, and that's about a 16 by 16 hanging cooler. There's a rail and hooks where we can move animals around as we need to get to them. And then in the back is a big smokehouse where we can smoke, I think, 300 pounds of sausage at a time, and we have that thing going all the time. So when you walk in and there's a haze in the shop, believe me, that's hickory smoke that you're walking into.
Yeah. The day I was there, I think you were getting ready for a cochon de lait.
That's right. Yeah, we catered a wedding that day, I think, and we had a whole pig in the smokehouse.
Right.
So.
Well, when I think about that window and what people can see happening there, it factors into what I want to talk about today, which is sort of what's happened with our purchasing in this country and what you call convenience cuts, because, you know, we were sort of joking about it in the opening, but our number one question is, what do I do to make boneless, skinless chicken breasts taste better? And I told you I was at a speaking engagement once, and I answered the question a little snarkily, but my answer was, don't buy them. You know, a thigh with a bone and some skin is far more enjoyable, but not only is it more enjoyable and more tasty, it's a better way for us to consume those animals. So talk to us about your take on what's gone on with these convenience cuts.
Yeah, I mean, the supermarket is a relatively new concept. I think we're probably 50, 60 years of the grocery store where you can walk in and buy your toilet paper, your squash, and your chicken breast. I mean, that's very new considering we've been eating for how many years?
Right.
It depends on what you read. So millions of years, whatever.
Right.
So that is where the disconnects come from. Before, you know, my grandparents' generation, they wanted chicken. They went in the backyard. They got the chicken, and they were having Sunday chicken with that.
Right.
You know, with that chicken, and
Sure.
and they were going to use the whole thing because they saw that thing get processed, and they realized those two chicken breasts are attached to two thighs and two legs and two wings and a back. So what are you going to do without that? You're not going to waste it.
Right.
So now people walk into a grocery store and they see a sea of pretty little cellophane packed styrofoam things that have two chicken breasts in it.
Right.
And don't have to think about what is happening to the rest of that chicken. You know, if I'm not buying the thighs, what's happening to them? Where are they going? Are they going in the trash? Because that's not a sustainable business model. So, I mean, and I'm honest with customers when they come in and they order, if they come in and they order 10 chicken breasts, I say, well, what are you doing with them? You know, and a lot of times somebody is going to a crock pot and doing prepped meals. And I'm like, whoa, that's the worst thing you can put in a crock pot is a chicken breast.
Right,
You know?
right.
And I'll be honest with you, I'm charging, you for chicken breast for the fact that if I have to throw the rest of that chicken away, it's got to be paid for with the chicken breast. So let me save you a little bit of money, and let's look at what can we do with a half a chicken or a whole chicken and get a little more distance out of your food dollar.
Right.
And, we can eat better meats if we eat them smartly. Paying $8 a pound for chicken breast, which is what you're going to pay for them at my shop, versus getting a whole chicken for $4 a pound and maybe eating on it for 3 nights.
Right.
I mean, that just makes way more sense. But unfortunately, people don't think that way because they're not faced with that decision every day.
Right.
So that we like having those conversations with people.
Yeah.
If they come in, same thing with, let's say, a pork shoulder. They come in, I want a 2-pound pork shoulder. That's not a practical thing to cut from a pork shoulder. So what are you doing with it? Let's see what else I have here that may be cheaper and just be a better cut for what you're trying to do. So that's what we try to do mostly at our shop.
Do you find most folks are open to what you're suggesting?
Mostly, yeah.
Okay.
Mostly, especially if we're steering them to a cut that is going to be just generally better for what they're doing.
Yeah.
But still, some people are dead set on following whatever recipe told them to do that online blindly and sticking with it. And hey, we'll gladly do it. We just want to make sure they know they have the option.
Right.
So.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. What would you say is the one key takeaway here?
Have an open mind. If you come in with a very particular thing in mind, we may be out of it. That's just the reality of how our shop operates. There's only 3 or 4 pounds of tenderloin on a 700 or on a 350 pound side of beef. So when it's gone, it's gone. I can't go open up a box and grab you another one. So if you come in and you and your wife want fillets for dinner, I might be out of fillets. But be open to what else we have in the case. It may be something you've never heard of. Be a little adventurous when you eat. Just kind of studying other cultures, the way they eat. America has sacrificed tenderness for flavor. Everywhere else around the globe, they're willing to chew a little bit. And when you're willing to chew a little bit and cook a little slower, you're going to end up with better flavors. So we encourage people just to come in with an open mind. I understand if you need a particular cut for a particular thing, but if it's just a Wednesday and you're looking to cook dinner, have an open mind. Come in and try something new.
Well, Galen, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
All right, thanks for having me.
Tell folks how they can find you.
You can find us on Instagram at Iverstine Farms, as well as on our website at www.iverstinefarms or iverstinefarmsbutcher.com. Really great website with a lot of information, animal diagrams that'll kind of give you an idea of different cuts that you can get in our shop.
Okay, thanks again. We'll see you in the shop. Thanks again to Galen Iverstine of Iverstine Farms. And now let's head over to the Red Stick Spice Company Teaching Kitchen, where Madeline and I are going to prepare spatchcock chicken, not boneless, skinless chicken breast, in real time. A perfect example of flavorful chicken, skin, bones, and all.
Okay, so I have a question. What is spatchcock chicken?
Oh, I guess that would be helpful since you're going to be making it to know what it is we're making. But spatchcock chicken is where you cut the backbone out and you flatten out the bird and you get really even cooking, a lot faster cooking, and most important, tons of crispy skin.
Sounds delicious. I want to make that.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. This is the cooking segment of Smidgen, and we are here with Madeline, store staffer. Hi. Madeline. Welcome.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
I'm excited that you're here.
A lot.
We are, first of all, let's talk about what we're making. So we're going to make Peruvian chicken. Okay. We're going to spatchcock the chicken, which is kind of a crazy name, word, but we're going to get to that in just a minute. But this cooking segment is on the heels of my interview with Galen Iverstine. So you know Iverstine's butcher here in Baton Rouge. Here in Baton Rouge, we are lucky enough to have a local small rancher who also has a butcher shop, and he does these gorgeous pasture-raised chicken. I get my Thanksgiving turkey from him. And the coolest thing about Galen, well, first of all, do you get like Stitch Fix or name another subscription box? Isn't there one for makeup that's really popular? Birchbox.
Yes.
So I get a meat subscription.
Okay.
From Iverstine's, and we will link to that in the show notes for everybody in Baton Rouge. I highly recommend it. Once a month, I get a cooler full of meat. and it makes me really happy. So I love what Galen's doing over at the butcher shop. You've come with us on our farm tour.
Yes,
to
I've
tour
seen
it.
the hanging meat for sure.
Right,
Yes.
right. Which is kind of interesting for you because you are largely plant-based.
Yes, but I appreciate everything he does. So,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
So you told me once, and I love this approach. I'm going to start getting the backbone out of this chicken because that's what spatchcocking is all about. So you told me once that you are largely plant forward. You will consume animal protein if it's offered to you, but when you go grocery shopping, you do not buy it.
I do not.
Okay.
Makes for easier cooking nights for me.
Okay. I'm going to tell you this. I was thinking about you on the way here because I was like, I've got Madeline, Plant Forward Madeline, working with me on chicken. Like, how's this going to work? And so I'm just thinking about it. I was listening to a podcast called Fork Off is the name of the podcast. And it's two sisters who are about my age. So it's like the whole time I'm listening to it, everything they say, I'm like, same, like we're twins. We're about the same age. And they talk a lot about food and diets out in the world. And they were talking about what they called the pagan diet, which was actually incorrect. It's called the Pegan diet. Then they went into a story about their Catholic school upbringing, and I grew up in Catholic school as well. And there was this thing in Catholic school when we were young called pagan babies. And you saved your milk carton from lunch, which we had little milk cartons at lunch. You had a pouch of milk, correct, that you
Yes.
stabbed with a straw?
Definitely.
So we had milk cartons, and you got to save a milk carton from lunch, and you rinsed it in the water fountain, but you never got it completely clean, and it always smelled just a little bit like sour milk. And you went home and you decorated it, and you cut a coin slot in it.
Okay.
And then you collected change, or you put your allowance in it to help a pagan baby. So a pagan baby is a baby that did not get baptized in the Catholic Church. Were you baptized in the Catholic Church?
I was not.
You are a pagan baby.
Okay.
So I'm, 9 years old, max. And so I decorate because I think you adopt the pagan baby and you collect the money, and I think I'm going to actually get a baby. That was what was going on in my brain. So I worked really hard on my crafting and artwork on
For the baby.
For the baby. So then there was a twist. The teacher said, I'm in first grade. My teacher was Miss Hannah. And she said, we're actually going to pool all our money, and the class is going to adopt a pagan baby. And we get to name it, which I was like, well, how is this going to work? Are we going to rotate taking the baby home,
Yeah,
of
it's
the
your baby.
20 odd people in the class, and in the end you don't get a baby. All of that to say, the name of the diet isn't pagan, it's Pegan.
Pegan.
Okay, so it's a combination, came out in like 2014, combination of paleo and vegan. Kind of speaks to your approach. Like, if it's available and if you're feeling it, you'll eat some animal protein, but for the most part, you're plant-based. Now, paleo and vegan are on the complete opposite spectrum of each other. So it's interesting that a physician came up with it, and that he put these two concepts together mainly to say you are largely plant-based most of the time, and you occasionally eat animal protein, and you especially would eat that animal protein if you felt good about the way it was sourced and raised and that sort of thing. So I think we're playing totally into the way you eat, and also it has nothing to do with pagan babies. Okay, I'm going to get the backbone out of here. I've got a variety of weapons. My favorite boning knife, a pair of kitchen shears. This is going to look nothing like the magic of Food Network TV, where they look like it was just so easy. This is going to be quite noisy and a little messy looking, but we want to get this backbone out of here. And you've been in enough cooking classes with me. You know this is not going in the trash.
Yes.
Right. So what am I going to do with this backbone?
Chicken stock?
Absolutely.
All right,
Yeah.
let's do
Yeah.
it.
So it goes in my Ziploc bag for making stock. Now we've got the backbone out of this chicken. That actually went a lot better than I thought it would. And we're going to flip it over, and I'm going to have you do something for me. I'm going to have you grab my sheet pan right there. I've got a sheet pan with parchment and a rack on it. And we're going to have that ready here to the side. And what I'm going to do is have you help me season this chicken. So of course I forgot to put my gloves on. I need your help. Couple things. I pre-salted this chicken. Early salting, you've also heard me talk about that a lot. A big part of getting poultry skin to be nice and crispy and brown evenly. So this was early salted. So I just salted it and had it in the fridge overnight. Now what we're going to do is roast it at a very, very high heat for a short-ish period of time, probably 20 to 30 minutes, and then we're going to pop the heat down and let it finish cooking. But I want that 425-degree oven to really make that outside golden brown and that skin very, very crispy. So why am I talking about this? Because I need to put an oil on this. So you've worked here since you were a sophomore in high school?
Yes.
And you're a sophomore in college now?
Yes.
I'm so good at what I do. Look at the tenure of my employees. In landscape architecture, right?
Yes.
So you haven't been here a ton during the school year because that major is
Pretty demanding, for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say grueling, but that was a really nice way to put it. But you're in the studio a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. We're excited to have you back here for the summer, for sure. You've worked here long enough to know where I'm going with this. 425-degree oven, what has to happen with the fat that we use on here? We're not going to use olive oil because of the smoke point.
Yeah.
It's got a much lower smoke point. So we could move to avocado oil, which is the highest smoke point fat, and we sell tons of it here. But I'm actually going to use a Louisiana product, and I'm going to use pecan oil.
All right.
So it doesn't have as high of a smoke point as avocado oil, but it's definitely much higher than olive oil. What I need you to do is take this pecan oil, that is Point Capi pecan oil. Go ahead and drizzle it all over. Pecan oil, there are a couple different kinds out there. The pecan oil we stock from a couple of different small farms in Louisiana, and these are unfiltered pecan oils. You can definitely buy filtered pecan oil, and it's neutral, and it's probably like a substitution maybe for your canola oil, but I buy unfiltered because I actually want to taste that it's pecan oil.
So it tastes like pecans.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I love that nutty flavor. I use it for bread dipping a lot, but I love that nutty, warm, roasty flavor from the pecan oil. So I only source unfiltered pecan oil here in the store, but that's from Point Capi Pecan Farm, and that's a beautiful pecan oil. Okay, so that is glistening and beautiful, and then I'm going to have you take our Peruvian chicken blend. This is a fairly new blend that we've just started blending. We have a whole line of chicken blends here in the store, and this one is fairly new. It's got smoked tomato in it, and then cumin, coriander, a lot of paprika, and then some herbs in it, and gives the chicken golden brown color. It has delicious flavor. Let's just do it on this side as well.
So one thing I see during cooking classes is not enough, so we're going heavy with the spice.
Yeah, we get that a lot when we walk over, especially when you're roasting vegetables. Let's make sure we get all the places. Yeah.
All the places.
Yeah. We see that a lot, especially with roasting vegetables. Folks aren't too terribly liberal with using of the spices or the spice blends. And when we come over and we correct it, they're like, oh, you wanted me to use that much? They're really surprised about that. Yeah, you want to go pretty liberally. I would say we used a solid heaping tablespoon, maybe inching up toward 2 tablespoons. But yeah, get it all on there. I pressed a little bit, and what that did was it combined it with the fat, and it turned it into a little bit of a paste. But we're going to roast that at an incredibly high heat. That's my go-to for all poultry, even my Thanksgiving turkey, like a crazy high heat. For about 30 minutes, we're going to keep an eye on it. We don't want it to burn. And after we get beautiful golden brown color on the outside, then we'll pop that heat down to like 325 degrees and let it finish cooking. So I'm going to have you pop that in the oven, and I need to rinse my hands. So next up, while that's roasting, we are going to make the cilantro sauce.
All right.
I need you to do a little bit of cut chop for me. So let's move your board over. And we're going to get the jalapeno going and the garlic. All of this is going in the Vitamix. So we're not terribly concerned with your cuts. We just want to get it into pieces. So kind of a rough chop. And what I teach when we teach cooking classes about garlic is there's not a whole lot of magic to chopping garlic, especially when you want to get garlic really fine. A lot of times we'll use a microplane and we'll grate it. But to get garlic really fine, you're doing it exactly correctly. You just push it back in a pile and you go over it again, push it back in a pile, go over it again. Same approach to parsley and cilantro. No real magic there. So that is perfect. So that can go into our Vitamix carafe here. And then we're going to tackle that jalapeno. We are going to take the seeds out, but we're not going to be so meticulous about the membranes because we are happy with a little bit of heat in this sauce. The fat, what's already in here is some mayonnaise. Okay. And we talked a little bit about you don't love mayonnaise.
Don't love mayonnaise.
Your replacement here for this sauce, because I do want you to make this sauce again. For this mayonnaise, you're going to use an avocado.
All right.
Because what this mayonnaise is bringing to the party is fat.
Okay.
And your avocado will do the same thing. I do find when I make it with an avocado, I have to play around a little bit more with the salt and lime. But yeah, you can totally replace that with an avocado. We're going to do mayo. And it's going to make a great sauce for the chicken, but it also makes a great salad dressing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I cut it in half.
So you have a couple of options here. We can just use your fingers as long as you remember later not to rub your eyes.
All right.
But yeah, we just want to get those seeds out of there. But we're not going to be too concerned. I'm going to pull this whole section out. There's still membrane in there, but I'm not going to be too concerned with that because we want a little bit of the heat from the jalapeno.
Okay.
And then you're just going to give those, a rough chop. And if a few seeds make their way in, no problem. They're going to get blitzed up in the Vitamix and still going to make a nice smooth sauce. We need cilantro in here. What do you think of this cilantro?
Looks beautiful. Green.
Like how beautiful?
Like, did you get it from outside?
Guess who grew it?
You.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cilantro is tricky in South Louisiana. I probably won't have it much longer. It's going to start getting just blazing hot. But right now, while it's fairly warm during the day, but cool in the evening, the cilantro is doing well. So well, it is waist high. It's not something I can really save for long term. I'm just trying to kind of use it up right now. But you are team cilantro?
I'm team cilantro.
Because a lot of people
say
it tastes like soap.
Yeah.
Team soap. That's funny. Greg, my husband, when he's outside, when he turns the corner toward my herb garden, he's like, I can smell it and it's terrible and I don't understand. But yeah, I grew this and when it's young like this and the stems are tender and not woody in any way, you can totally use the stems. So people spend a lot of time picking off the leaves, and that's not necessary if the stems are soft and tender. All of that cilantro goes in, so let me see where we are. We've got our cilantro, we've got our jalapeno in there. Do we have our garlic went in that you chopped?
Garlic's in there.
How about you do a tablespoon of our cilantro lime olive oil? I find myself turning to this olive oil once it starts to get warm. I'm doing more grilling. I'm definitely leaning more toward fish and shrimp in the warmer months. And this is a great olive oil for lots of seafood. We need 2.5 teaspoons of lime juice. I'm just going to do a half a lime. It's probably going to be a little bit more than 2.5 teaspoons, but I find that I almost always have to adjust the lime in here. And I've got our other half a lime in case we taste it, or I taste it, and we see that it needs more lime. Oh, I'm going to let you do that. Okay, so press those two together.
Yeah, I used the lime oil when I didn't have a lime the other day.
And worked well?
Saved the day.
Good deal. All right, and then we need some salt in here. It's a 1/4 teaspoon salt, and we've got our mayonnaise in there. So let's zhuzh this, and you have taught enough classes with me to know that I invented that very
Zhuzh?
specific culinary term.
Yes.
It is both a noun, a verb, and an adverb, and no one knows how to spell it. I have a friend who's a linguist, which means he's really smart, and I don't think he would not know what to do with this phone call, but I would like him to take a shot at spelling zhuzh.
How do you spell zhuzh?
I don't know what that first consonant is, actually. It's a Z or a Z
Zhuzh.
or, yeah. Then we zhuzh this. So our trusty tamper comes in handy right now to get all of this to come together. We teach Vitamix classes here, which is big fun. We just have Vitamixes lined up all through the room, and always one customer shows up with their own Vitamix, which I love.
Just ready to go.
Yeah, just in case you had to bring your own.
Yeah.
But let's try that again.
Some heat from the jalapenos for sure.
Already got it?
I haven't touched
Did you wipe your... Okay.
Pretty green color.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Okay, do you have a Vitamix? You do
I
have
do.
one. Yeah.
Yes. I was gifted one
Yeah.
by someone.
By someone really special?
Yes.
Like possibly top 3 favorite people?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Definitely.
Thanks. Okay. Gorgeous green. Lots of specks of cilantro. And I'm going to give it a taste and see what we think of that. And then we should be taking a look at our chicken here shortly. Super bright. Oh, wow. It's got a little pop of jalapeno. Really, really nice. Okay. So let's get ready to plate this. We're going to, once our chicken comes out, we're going to cut it into pieces and put it on a platter so that everyone can grab a piece of chicken and a little dollop of sauce. And there you have it. Okay, great job, Madeline. Just waiting for our chicken to cook,
Yes.
and then we'll get this served up. Okay, it's time to take a look at the chicken. You ready?
All right, let's
Okay,
do it.
let's do it. Oh my goodness. So I would call that more than just golden brown delicious.
Yes.
Like majestic, maybe?
Definitely.
Yeah.
The oil on top looks very delicious.
Yeah.
Satisfying.
So beautiful. A lot of things have happened here. That high heat has gone after the fat in the skin. The skin has fat. Fat means flavor. We also added fat with the pecan oil on top. And then all of the spices that go into that Peruvian chicken blend all have the capability of blackening. That's that caramelization. So that paprika and that smoked tomato powder and the chilies, they're all sort of burning on there, but in a really good way, in like the top of the creme brulee way of goodness. So I'm going to move this over to my board because I'm going to piece this chicken to put on our platter. Yeah, this is a memory of childhood for sure. Now, while my mom probably didn't spatchcock a chicken, there's definitely a whole roasted chicken at least once a week in our family. Let me see how I'm going to go after this. I'm going to start here with the leg, and it just fell apart. And so that's a leg quarter. That's the thigh and the leg, and that's a piece you can buy. That's a cut you can buy in the grocery store. But we're going to take it further and go ahead and have our leg and thigh separately. So we've got leg and thigh.
The red color is
then-
really nice.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, and then it's kind of burnt on top.
Yeah.
Color on point.
And thank you, Madeline. Thank you. And I can feel the crispy skin, so that's going to be super satisfying. So there's another thigh and another leg. One. So I've got 2 nice sized breasts here, so I'm going to go straight through the center.
Looks like a heart.
Yeah. And so nice sized. If they were really, really large, you could cut through and get 2 from there. But we're going to get those. This is the fight in our family. This is my brother.
Why.
Yeah, my brother and sister fighting.
Definitely the most meat.
Yeah, definitely my dad got it. And I was, no, just one. And I was there grabbing the leg and thigh as fast as I could. That is our Peruvian roast chicken with our cilantro sauce. And I think we're going to, should we invite the guys up to taste?
Yes, we can get that piece first.
Okay, so you want to claim your piece first?
Sure.
Okay, all right. So let's taste.
All right.
Tell me if you think you're going to do this at home.
Very bright. I'm digging it.
So good.
Yeah.
That lime and cilantro is perfect. So,
Summery.
for sure. What the other reason why I love to prepare a chicken like that is for the grill. So I throw it on the grill, and all that skin's exposed. It cooks a good bit faster than when you leave the chicken without the backbone. And you have beautiful crispy skin.
So there's no reason not to.
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
every time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, if you want that picture perfect Norman Rockwell, I know you don't know who Norman Rockwell is, but that picture perfect roasted chicken that you set on the counter, you know, that's certainly a place for that. But for all that delicious crispy skin and even cooking, I say all hands on spatchcocking.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Madeline.
No problem.
This was fun.
Delicious. I'm going to finish eating this.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
That does it for episode 1 of Smidgen. Thank you so much for listening. We have links to everything mentioned on our show in our show notes, including a link to our recipe for Peruvian spatchcock chicken with creamy cilantro sauce, and even a link to Iverstine Farms meat subscription. You can find all this information and more over at redstickspice.com. Find Red Stick Spice on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to learn more about our products, classes, and subscription boxes. Just for Smidgen listeners, we have a special discount code, Smidgen15, for 15% off your entire order. All uppercase, Smidgen15. Smidgen is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Please subscribe and leave a review. We would love to hear what you think of the show. You can also go to smidgenpodcast.com to find everything about the show. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Smidgen.